JBN will keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, Jamaican man found dead on Mexican street. The body of a man that was found on a street in Mexico has been confirmed to be a Jamaican. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has disclosed. It's suspected that he was there to try to cross over into the United States illegally. Confirmation of the man's identity came this week from Mexican authorities. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Camino Johnson-Smith, told journalists on Wednesday. His name has not been released.
A young man who had been missing in Mexico has now been identified as having died. He was regrettably an unidentified person found on a street in Mexico, and his family had no idea where he was. And the persons who were supposed to have been traveling with him became uncontactable by the family. And however, some efforts were made by our embassy in Mexico to reach out to the department that is responsible for identification of personnel and of persons. It was found that the young Jamaican citizen, was identified as having had an autopsy performed on him, but not having been a body claimed. We will be working with the family to see what we can do in terms of the repatriation of the body. The story that these scammers and smugglers sell to individuals in vulnerable communities is not, they shouldn't be trusted. They should not be trusted. There are real consequences to trying to enter the US illegally, or any other country for that matter. And we really encourage Jamaicans to take a second and a third thought before it is that they take that decision.
There has been a surge in the number of Jamaicans shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars to make the dangerous trek to the US through countries like Mexico, Panama, and Belize. In 2020, a total of 4,467 Jamaicans traveled to Mexico. A year later, that number jumped by 68% to 7,509. In the first 3 months of last year, a total of 2,929 Jamaicans traveled to the North American country. Johnson-Smith said the Jamaican government will not seek to close any port as part of the efforts to curb illegal migration. Instead, she urged Jamaicans to take a second and third thought before they make that decision. There are real consequences to trying to enter the US illegally, or any other country for that matter, she said. Double murder in Canaan, St. James. Detectives attached to the Major Investigation Division and the Freeport Police Station in Montego Bay, St. James, are probing an incident in which 2 men were shot and killed in Canaan, Adelphi in St. James, on Wednesday morning. One of the deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Andre Brown, otherwise called Powerman, while the other has been identified as Romaine Melville. Both men reportedly from Canaan District. It is reported that about 9:30 a.m., the men were sitting on a wooden bench in the vicinity of Canaan Square when they were ambushed by 2 armed men on a motorcycle who opened fire, hitting them multiple times. One of the men died on the spot, while the other was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Man shot and injured at child's funeral. A funeral for a child was brought to an abrupt end on Wednesday morning after a man was shot and injured outside the church at the intersection of Q Lane and Maxfield Avenue in St. Andrew. Reports are that the man was standing outside the church when a Toyota Probox drove up and men alighted from the vehicle. The men reportedly opened fire, sending funeral goers scampering for cover. The gun attack prematurely ended the funeral service. The man was assisted to hospital. The area was cordoned off by police, causing traffic delays. Cabby killed, passenger injured in Hanover gun attack. A taxi driver was shot dead, and one of his passengers injured during an attack by gunmen at Old Green Island in Hanover yesterday. The dead man has been identified as 40-year-old Marlon McIntosh. The injured passenger, a 48-year-old woman, has since been admitted to hospital. It is understood that around 7:55 a.m., McIntosh and 2 people were in his cab when a motorcycle with 2 men drove up. The pillion pulled a gun and opened gunfire at the car, then sped away. It was later discovered that McIntosh and the woman were suffering from what appeared to be gunshot wounds. The police were alerted, and the victims were assisted to the hospital, where the taxi driver was pronounced dead on arrival, and the woman treated and admitted in serious but stable condition. The police could not say if the cabbie was the target of the gunmen. No motive has been established for the attack. 12-year-old student shot on the way to school. A 12-year-old student was shot and injured in Somerton, St. James on Wednesday morning. It is reported that the student, who attends the William Knibb High School, was being transported to school on a motorcycle by a relative when they were ambushed by armed men. The motorcycle driver managed to evade injuries, but the student was later discovered to have been shot. The student was rushed to hospital, treated and admitted in serious but stable condition. Men dressed as security guards rob Pavilion Jewelers, firearm among items stolen. Thieves dressed in security guard uniforms struck the Pavilion Jewelers at the Springs Plaza on Constant Spring Road in St. Andrew, making off with an allotment of jewelry, cell phones, and a security guard's gun. The value of the items has not yet been determined. It is understood that shortly after the store's opening, around 10 a.m., several armed men who initially posed as customers entered the establishment. The stores reportedly shuttered its doors for the rest of the day. Gunmen rob truck driver of over $250,000 in St. Anne. Gunmen made off with more than $250,000 after attacking a truck driver and his assistant in Monique, St. Anne on Wednesday. It is understood that the truck driver and his co-worker had to flee, leaving their vehicle behind. After the men fired a barrage of gunshots at them, the police said. The assistant has not been seen since. It was reported that the two men left their location around 3 a.m. to deliver water products to St. James and St. Mary. They reportedly made deliveries at several locations and collected cash amounting to $270,000. Around 3 p.m., the driver stopped in Monique to relieve himself when a white Toyota Probox drove up, and two men armed with handguns alighted and fired several shots at him and the assistant. The driver and the assistant fled. The gunman then went into the truck and attempted to drive it away, but the kill switch caused it not to move. However, the men took a bag with cash, returned to the Probox, and sped off in the direction of Golden Grove. The truck driver returned to the location and drove the truck to the Yorton police station, where the incident was reported. 2 bullet holes were seen at the right front door of the truck, and the window was shattered. Police have since launched a manhunt for the gunmen and are attempting to find the assistant. No evidence One and Ready was the killer. Despite Menelik Young Sam boasting about being a seasoned killer, the Clarendon police said there is no information to suggest that he was the murderer he claimed to be. He has been somebody that has come to the police's attention before, but he was not a major significant person in our books, said Antoine Gore Cardozo, Deputy Superintendent of Police in charge of operations in Clarendon. Young Sam, also called One and Ready, was found in St. Catherine yesterday. His demise followed the release of a video which went viral, in which he not only boasted of his murderous ways, but promised to unleash terror by killing cops and the civilians. Cardozo said that Young Sam made his way into the Clarendon's police wanted list after he allegedly chopped and injured 3 of his relatives in the parish. The declaration of Young Sam being a wanted man coincided with the video going viral. Cardozo said that having watched the video, he formed the view that based on how Young Sam articulated himself, it does not seem to be somebody who is very collective or of sound mind. Young Sam said he had been a murderer for a long time. From me a pit, me a kill. Me kill more than 100 people, he said in a lengthy rant. If he's making some claims, who to tell? He may have done some of the things that he's not talking about, but he's not wanted in relation to anything other than that at this time, Cardozo said. Basically, he chopped 3 people, so that makes him very dangerous in our book. The viral video is showing him featured with both a knife and a gun. Of course, somebody like that we have to take very seriously, he said. At the time of the interview with the senior cop, Young Sam was believed to have been on the run. However, hours later, his body was found in the Fraser's content area of St. Catherine. Senior law enforcement officers surmised that he may have been killed by his cronies. In the video, which has been posted on social media, Young Sam said he lost his mind after the death of his wife. He also predicted his imminent demise, stating, "Me paranoid and me soon dead." Tertiary students to benefit from over $25 million in scholarships from GKF. Applications are now open for the 2023 Grace Kennedy Foundation GKF scholarships. According to a release on Wednesday this year, over 25 million Jamaican dollars in scholarships will be awarded by GKF to Jamaican students attending the University of the West Indies, the University of Technology, and the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts in the 2023-24 academic year. Education is the key to unlocking opportunities and achieving success. Grace Kennedy believes that every student should have the chance to pursue their dreams, regardless of their financial status. We are proud to offer these scholarships to help students achieve their academic goals, explained Caroline Mafood, Chief Executive Officer of GKF. In addition to the scholarships already offered by the Foundation annually this year, for the first time, a scholarship will be offered in the name of Louis Fred Kennedy, former Governing Director and Chairman of Grace Kennedy, and awarded to students studying for a Bachelor of Science in Logistics and Supply Chain Management at the Caribbean Maritime University. The new annual Louis Fred Kennedy Scholarship will be partly funded by proceeds from sales of Firstborn, The Life of Louis Fred Kennedy, a biography written by his son and chairman of GKF, Dr. Fred Kennedy, the release said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.